everybody, it's Lavender Town, and today I'm going to be drawing the final 4 7 Deadly Sins as character designs, and we're starting with Sloth here. Before I forget though, I am going to be doing a special video to celebrate 1 million subscribers. I just wanted to wait until my play button got here because it was actually going to ship pretty quickly, so that's kind of why I haven't really talked about it yet, but I do want to say thank you guys so much for helping me hit this enormous milestone. I feel so grateful and flattered that you guys are watching my videos. I'll save the rest of the mushy stuff for that video, but I just wanted to mention it really quick before it got too long without making any mention of it. Anyhow, so for Sloth, I really wanted a character who just looks like completely flattened by sort of like a sleepiness and a desire not to do anything. I think that Sloth is one of those things that we all kind of struggle with at some point, whether it be sort of from burnout or like actual depression or just generally not like taking care of yourself properly. It can be very appealing to want to just lie around and do nothing when you're not feeling well. So that's kind of the sort of atmosphere that I wanted to bring into this little demon character. I think she turned out tremendously cute, and I think within the sort of canon of these characters, I kind of want her to be the like sister to Gluttony, because I think they look kind of similar, and I think that like if they were side by side it would seem like they're sisters. Plus I think Gluttony and Sloth kind of go together in a weird way, so I kind of see them as like connected characters. I put her in this like really cozy sort of old-fashioned Victorian nightgown just to get that like sleepiness vibe in even more, and I gave her these sort of like long droopy horns just because I thought they looked low energy. For her color palette, I really felt like a blue teal color would be the right one to do as our sort of signature color for her, and I basically based every color that I chose after that on that same color, just in different value sort of scales. So I thought that blue is typically a lower energy color than like a warm color like an orange or a red, so that's just basic color theory, I guess. I also wanted it to be more of like a watery color. I feel like that gives me more of that sensation of like slowness and not wanting to do stuff, whereas like fiery colors are super active. I mean, I guess that's sort of the logic behind the color theory, but yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to go with. She kind of looks like she just crawled out of a swamp or something. She looks a little bit like a ghost with this like nightgown on as well. Not necessarily intentional on that part, but I do like how she turned out. She's the only one who's sort of like sprawled out laying down, so I do feel like if I try to put them all together in the same image, she's gonna look a little out of place, but I couldn't have her like standing up or even really sitting up. This really felt like the most slothful pose I could come up with. In the end, I really like how she turned out. Let me know if you have a name for her. Next up is Pride, and according to actual like religious like Christian stuff, this is supposed to be the absolute worst sin, but I've always found it to be the one that I don't really see it being as bad as a lot of the other ones, so I had to really reach deep and try to figure out what about this one is so creepy. I mean, obviously when people are arrogant it can be kind of obnoxious, but when it really came down to it, I think at least from my perspective as like someone who wants to get better at stuff, I think one of the worst parts about Pride is that it blinds you to your actual progress and it makes it hard for you to get better at anything, and I think that's sort of the angle I wanted to go at with this character. So I knew overall I wanted to do this sort of like crown motif, like she's just like gilding herself in achievement and status, and it's also about putting yourself above others and seeing yourself as like deserving more than them, and basically devaluing other people through your overblown sort of pride, I guess. That's kind of the main reason I went for like so many like crowns and royal brocade and stuff like that. And I also wanted her to be basically blinded, because like I said, pride is really problematic because it makes it hard for you to evaluate yourself, and being able to accurately sort of understand who you are and where you're at is the only way that you can really move forward with your life and grow well. So the real harm that comes in that is like it keeps you stagnant, it keeps you like unable to improve, and unable to take criticism and become a better person. So I basically had her bangs sort of just completely go over her eyes. This is an idea that I had initially with Lust, and I didn't think it really matched the idea as much, so I saved it for this one instead. That's something I highly recommend. If there's an idea that you really, really like, but it doesn't feel quite right, just keep it in the back of your head and you might be able to use it in the future in a way that makes more sense. You don't want to be throwing ideas away necessarily, but you also don't want to keep them just because they seem cool, because you can always use them later in a better sort of application. For her color palette, I wanted to do a lot of warms, a lot of bright, vibrant, like look at me type colors, and especially with all the like crown motifs, I wanted everything to be in gold. And then for her hair, just for some contrast, I did this like silvery white color, and I gave her this big creepy grin and these little snake braids coming out of the back of her like bob. This is a wild haircut, honestly, but I kind of like it. She looks a little bit like a corrupted version of the Nier Automata girl. I've never played that game, I'm sorry, but you know what I mean, like her eyes are covered, and yeah, anyway, I think she turned out pretty cool. I just realized she's the only one I didn't give horns to, which really bothers me now. Maybe we could just say that crown at the top is actually her horn. That's kind of cool. Oh, and I added the wings on the back of her that kind of look like a mix between demon and angel wings because she sees herself as a perfect angel, but we know that she's a demon. Next up is Greed. Now, Greed, I wasn't really sure where to go with it at first. I kind of thought maybe like a fashionista with a lot of designer stuff, because I do think that like the whole idea of designer clothes and designer bags that aren't made with any more like care or sustainability than any other type of bag is really greedy, because they're basically just asking for more money because of their name and they're not actually putting any better products out there. But I ended up going with more of like a sort of alluring businesswoman type, because as the demon of greed, I wanted her to sort of represent more of that like constant draining desire to always have more, like, and it's almost sort of like workaholism, I guess, because I do feel like the greatest like greed that can exist is like corporate greed, and like because corporations just always want to make more money every single year, and it's like it's not for any reason. It's not like to make the business better or anything. It's just because you're supposed to make more every single year and you're constantly supposed to be improving no matter what the situation is around you. And so I decided to go for more of like a business aesthetic, because I do feel like that's probably the most like nonsensical style of greed, and also, you know, like businesses often do really horrible stuff to their lower workers just for more profit, even when they really don't need them. So it was definitely the one that like got me the most fired up about the concept of greed. So instead of like gilding her up with a bunch of jewels and stuff, which I felt might be a little redundant with Pride, I decided to have her be pretty simple looking, but definitely in like a really fancy tailored suit. Like, you know, it fits her completely perfectly. And she also looks a little bit like sleazy, like she's trying to talk you into like having a extramarital business affair or something, some like real Don Draper stuff over here, and it's sort of supposed to represent this like the seduction of like just putting in a few more hours just to help the business, or you know, to push your career forward, because don't you want to be, you know, the top, don't you want to get that promotion, all of that kind of stuff. I wanted all of that like creepy corporate culture to be sort of embodied in this character. And also I just realized so many of my characters were super feminine, so it would be nice to have a character who looks a little different than that and doesn't have like super long hair and stuff. She's also drinking a martini just because I thought it would be a good prop for her. Originally she was gonna like have a like whole fan of cash, but I thought that was a bit on the nose. I had her be completely monochrome color wise, except for her hair, which is the color of American money. It's not subtle, but I think it works. In the end, this ended up being one of my favorite ones, just because I feel like she looks very different from the other girls in the series, and also because she has such a character and a personality on her face, that she really ended up being one of my top picks. I also like her shoes. They look like sort of like hooves, and I think that really works with her ram horns as well. Lastly, we have Envy. Now, envy is a sin that I think a lot of artists are really familiar with, just because envying other artists is like the most natural part of being one. I feel like you always feel like everybody is like more skilled, or you like their style more, and you always sort of turn your distaste towards yourself, always wanting to be where someone else is, or being able to do what other people are able to do. So my whole goal with envy was to show how this particular one like really tears yourself up, how like the constant wanting of what others have and what others can do and their opportunities, it makes it almost impossible for you to live your life and achieve the things and also see the value of yourself. Envy really harms your self-esteem because you're looking outward and you're not being able to appreciate what you are and what you have. I basically decided to design her hair like grabbing hands, reaching out for the things that she does not have and that she wants. And then I had various places over the entire character where I had these sort of like voids, these like empty spaces. And basically that's the feeling that you are not enough. And it's the sort of corrosive element of envy. And I sort of wanted both of those things to be really clear in this character design. I also gave her a really childish sort of outfit, just because I do feel like it's the type of thing that like really, it really makes you an adult when you're able to see your own value and like move past envy. I suppose self-betterment in general is seen as sort of a stage of growing up, but it seems like for me, particularly with envy, it seems like moving past that and like being sort of self-realized is like a big step moving away from like the insecurity of being a teenager. So basically for her color palette, I wasn't really sure what direction to go in. I knew I wanted it to be sort of greenish because, I mean, that's when people talk about jealousy, they're always talking about it in the terms of like green eyes or whatever. But I didn't want to go like straight up green just because I feel like envy also like saps your energy. So I wanted to lean more towards like the Sloth color palette as well. So again, I kind of landed on this sort of low energy greenish teal color. And then I made her eyes a lot brighter just because like she's looking at other people and constantly like, focusing on what other people are doing. So her eyes are like sort of the focus here because she's always looking out. Honestly, like I kind of am horrified by her legs. I like this void idea very much and I decided to keep it, but I do think it looks kind of like super creepy that she's like missing bite marks out of her leg. I just wanted that sensation of like her self-worth being corroded away by envy, sort of to go through the entire character design. And that does it for my last 4 of the 7 Deadly Sins girls. I hope you guys liked my character designs for them. Let me know if you have any ideas for videos in the future, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much to my wonderful patrons, including Bella Story, Kalmpapunk, Clockwork Construct, Dope Elephant Art, Dr. Casket, Larry, Elizabeth Album, Fayno, Greer the Animator, Hachiubi, Yara Famoso, Imagine Creation, Ivan Rodriguez, JJJ, Joseph Kopel, Drunk on Insomnia, Carla Tapia, Liblablabla, McKenna Lewis, Megan, Micah Dactyl, Mr. Dr. Pants, Nora Cornelison, Okamore, Ollie, Piku Perkla, Rosie Warlock, Rudy, Scott Steffes, Sergeant Pendulum, The Artsy Moose, Throat Foam, Yaboyas T, Zoe Stardust, and Maga.